This game is sponsored by our NC Rams All Sports Booster Club Platinum and Gold sponsors. This game is sponsored by our NC Rams All Sports Booster.
A live look at Dunning Field here at Dunning Field, the home of the New Canaan Rams. There'll be some boys lacrosse action, the New Canaan Rams and the Iona Prep Gaels. It'll be a good matchup between two teams that are really looking to continue their hot starts. New Canaan sits at 8-1, and the Gaels are 10-3 on the season. Both teams have a lot of offensive depth and a lot of power. We'll start with the Gaels. You know, the Gaels have a really strong offense that has been performing well with Crew Davis, Tim Plunkett. You know, Tucker, what can you tell me about them, the Rams' plan of attack to stop them?
Yeah, so the Rams have a really strong defensive approach this season. They have, the three commits, and then Ryan Lay, who's just as good and probably could have gone on and played D1 lacrosse if he wanted to. And I think the main thing we're going to be looking into today is the switch of Will Hayes and Bryce Lyden. Bryce Lyden is coming up to play long stick midi against the UNC football and lacrosse commit Crew Davis to UNC. And then Hayes will be coming down and guarding Tim Plunkett, who is a very talented attackman who's also committed to UNC, John.
Yeah, and you talk about the interchangeability of that. You can only do that if you have 3-4 guys that really are interchangeable, and you can see it on this New Canaan team. Their defense, definitely one of their strengths, but their offense has been kind of comprised of some young bucks this year that are taking things from the charge, really able to put the ball in the back of the net. What can you tell me about them, Tucker?
Yeah, we have the young guys in Matt Reed and Gray Wildman, and those two, great athletes, multi-sport athletes, both on the football field. And, those two young guys are starting to, take charge and really get some experience in this offense, which will obviously pay off in the future. But, then you got some older guys, you got Laddick, who's been very talented, and then you got guys just all over the field, different age groups, stepping up.
And we'll see you back here on NCTV in just a few moments for opening face-off after player introductions and the national anthem.
This afternoon, the Rams welcome the players, coaches, and fans of the Iona Prep Gaels and their head coach, Rick Trezano. The Rams enter today's contest with a record of 8-1, while Iona has 10 wins and 3 losses on the season. On behalf of the CIAC and New Canaan High School, we would like to remind you to demonstrate good sportsmanship, respect, and courtesy to all student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans. Support the team you root for and show respect for the opposition. Any behavior that violates this code of conduct is grounds for removal from the stadium. We appreciate your cooperation in maintaining a safe and positive game environment. Now, here are today's starting lineups. First, for the visiting Iona Prep Gaels. Number 1, Matthew Napolitano. Number 2, Crew Davis. Number 3, Jesse Jacobs. Number 7, Captain Luke Hasakrita. Number 8, Dylan Gelata. Number 10, Billy Haggerty. Number 12, Ryan Elliott. Number 16, Mike Drummy. Number 20, Tim Plunkett. And number 34, co-captain Matt Plunkett. And now, the starters for your New Canaan Rams. Number 3, Finn Roeder. Number 9, Cole Campisi. Number 10, Brady Mazabras. Number 11, Captain Henry Laddick. Number 31, Cam Leiden. Number 43, Ryan Leahy. Number 46, Captain Bryce Leiden. Number 55, Captain Braden Roby. Number 91, Gray Wildman. And number 98, Matt Reed. Ladies and gentlemen, we now ask that you please rise and remove your hats to honor America with the playing of our national anthem. Thank you.
It's the second game of a doubleheader here live on NCTV 78. This time boys action after the girls lost 9-2 to Darien. It's the New Canaan Rams, the Iona Prep Gaels here live on NCTV 78. Myself, John Frieders, joined alongside Tucker Stevens. Tucker, we're in for a good one. The Rams known for their defense, and they have their hands full today. We talked about it in the open. Crew Davis, Tim Plunkett both committed to play at the next level at North Carolina. That's no joke. North Carolina, one of the better schools in the country this year, top 20 school. Got Matt Plunkett to the brother, committed to Holy Cross, and a couple other commits scattered around. But that defense of New Canaan, solid. Really 4 guys that are interchangeable. You can put on ball, switch them around, get a lot of different options.
Yeah, you also got, don't forget about Chase Harden too. You got the Rams defense just has so much depth. Even if those 4 guys aren't, one of them gets a penalty, it's kind of next man up mentality, and they're able to, just fill in the gaps, whenever something goes wrong. And, you can't sleep on the New Canaan offense, too. As we talked about in the opening preview, we talked about how the Rams have the young guys in Matt Reed and Gray Wildman, but you also just can't forget about guys like Cole Campese and, Henry Laddick, because they're so talented, on the field. It's just, the New Canaan Rams, the defense definitely is they're known for their defense, but the offense definitely has found their groove in recent games. And, in the Staples game, they had problems with goalie Josh Marcus, but, the Rams definitely came back in Rumson, and I think they'll be able to have a strong day today if the offense is able to fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, that game against Staples won a few conference matchups for this Rams team. This Rams team is playing a lot of out-of-state opponents. Another one here tonight. And Tucker, a team like New Canaan that's really known throughout the Northeast gets to play those top teams in the Northeast. They play Darien on Saturday, an in-conference matchup, but a very difficult one. They play, teams up along their schedule in New York, Rhode Island. Definitely interesting to see the way that they travel. And, you have to wonder if it takes a toll on them or if it has maybe even a positive effect playing a bunch of teams that, they do see the teams pretty often, but they're not in conference.
Yeah, John, it's interesting to see, most other sports, you're playing in-state most of the season, so it's interesting to just see, how the Rams are able to travel all over, the Northeast and be able to play. And, these guys, they're all on the different club teams. You got Lyden's right here, he's an Eclipse Lacrosse player. He's played with a lot of these guys before, and it's just so they get to play guys they've seen before and guys they haven't seen before. So it's really interesting to see how they adapt to that.
And one guy we haven't talked about here tonight so far, JT O'Neill in at the Fogo for the Rams up against Robert Connolly, number 14 for the Gaels. JT is so talented inside that face-off dot. We know you've seen kind of a long history of New Canaan Fogos that have been strong as JT wins another face-off.
Yeah, the thing about O'Neill, too, is, PJ and I were talking about this in the past 2 games, is he's not afraid to come down and shoot the ball, which is kind of irregular to see out of a face-off guy. A lot of the times they're just going to pass it off, and, JT is able to just come down and take a shot, pass it off, and stay on the offensive side of the ball if he needs to.
JT did score on Saturday in that win against Rumson Fairhaven. They beat Rumson Fairhaven 16-5, and then they played Danbury on Tuesday, who's in that lower echelon of FCAC teams. Here's Campese up top, rolling around the pick inside, ball on his right stick as it's poked away. Good strong defense from the Gaels, and poked away by Dylan Galata. And in the corner, Campese looking for a dodge, faking the roll. Ball in his left hand, dumps it off up top to Roeder. Roeder, another guy who going to commit to play at the next level. It's just a matter of where he's going to play. He's very strong for this New Canaan offense. You see him in a lot of different sets as a long shot by Laddick from the captain. There's Roeder working along. Inside pass attempt to Mazabras. Mazabras' ball goes off the stick, picked up by the Gaels. Now moving from defense to offense on the stick of Crew Davis. Crew Davis working on top. He's got a short stick on him right now in Campese. Just holding him at bay up top for now.
Yeah, it's a great time for Crew Davis to get the game started. Here the Rams switch off and get Leiden onto Crew Davis. So that's a great switch by the Rams. And you know, if Crew Davis gets a short stick on him, it's essential that he dodges and takes advantage of that.
That's a Coretta. Had the ball in his hand now. Ball back down low at X in the hands of Stelter. Again, you see the Gaels just cycling the ball around, moving the ball on the outside. It'll be interesting to see the way this New Canaan defense plays a team like the Gaels here tonight. The Gaels actually traveled down to Fairfield County, played Wilton about 2 weeks ago. They lost in a tight matchup against Wilton, who New Canaan pretty convincingly beat, but anything can happen. The shot, bounce shot over the head of Leiden. There's Fahey working, shot saved by Leiden. Leiden looking for the long pass up, instead elects to hold it, being pressured off the ball by Stelter. Bumps it off to his brother Bryce. Now Leiden waiting for his defender to make a move. Leiden, another guy, although he's got the long pole in his hand, not afraid to try and shoot the ball. Will Hayes also as well, another long stick who likes shooting the ball. Hayes had a goal on Saturday against Rumson Fairhaven. Here is Campese settling down the offense. My apologies. That is Matt Reed, one of the sophomore tandem guys we talked about. Matt Reed dumps it to Laddick. And one thing about this New Canaan offense is there really is no one scorer. It's a lot of different guys who move the ball around and take shots all together.
Yeah, you know, recently in the past 2 games, we've seen Matt Reed come down and play attack, and normally he's at the midfield spot. And, you know, it's just interesting to see just his ability that he can play anywhere on the field. And it really pays off for the Rams having, you know, the Swiss Army knife in Matt Reed.
Well, continues to be moved around. Mayock up top. You see the dodge, the shot. Good save by the Gaels. The Gaels still trying to clear the ball out of their own zone to New Canaan Rams on the hip of Haggerty.
This New Canaan team is really strong on the rides. You know, Wildman, we just see Wildman lay out there to get the ball back, and it just really pays off to have a team that's so good, you know, on the rides, because it really pays off in the transition game.
Ball back in the hands of the Rams. Long pass up. Now the Rams settle down in the offensive zone once again. Matt Reed. Reed just a sophomore, and you know, the talent that they lost last year, he was a guy like Doster Kroll, who was a focal part of the Rams offense. You're looking for some guys to step up. Reed definitely has stepped up. Wildman too as well. And Laddick's definitely played a large part in that as his role as a captain, not just a captain on the lacrosse team, but also on the hockey team as Wildman takes the shot. Wildman picking up the ball at X. Back down low. Wildman guarded by Delane.
It's actually Matt Reed there coming around X, shot just wide.
Reed takes a shot wide, as you said, Tucker. New Canaan once again closest to the ball. It's Roeder. Roeder over to Laddick. See, watch Roeder might set a pick. Laddick with a little spin move, trying to move his defender. He elects to just dump the ball up top to Campese. Campese with the defender on his left shoulder. He's looking to fire. He takes the shot off the leg of a defender. Rams get the rebound. It's Wildman picking it up. Pass over the middle to Laddick. Laddick spinning. Rolling shot by Campese wide.
Rams have taken a lot of shots here on this possession. We haven't really seen too much of Iona Prep's offense yet, but it's good to see them just taking shots on net, and you know, hopefully one of them will fall for them.
You know, that's one thing the Rams aren't scared to do is take shots. You see a bunch of shots every single game. The good pass inside, another shot by Reed. Rebound picked up in front by a Wildman shot. Another save, looked like it got on the stick. Pass inside. Wildman not able to finish. Hear the excitement from the crowd. Wildman goes again, and he shoots and scores. Wildman putting the Rams on top early. 6:05 remaining. Rams up 1-0.
Yeah, John, you love to see it go out of the freshman Gray Wildman, and he doesn't get the first one to fall there, and then he is able to just pick up the ball, and he's so athletic and aggressive that he's able to just pick it up and come back around and be able to net that one.
Past the stick of Elliott. See if we can get a replay here live on NCTV. Good shot. Right past the stick. They're just good offense by the Rams. Take a couple shots, look for the right shot. JT O'Neal won another face-off, but a violation, giving the ball to the Gaels. Gaels move back into the offensive zone after playing a few consecutive minutes in their defensive half. Gaels moving the ball around. Now in the stick, Tortorella. Ball up top in the stick of Pascaretta. So you always got to keep an eye out for where Crew Davis is out on the field. There's DRC. DRC rolling, pass up top. Again, you see the Gaels just moving the ball around. Big, strong, physical Rams defenders proving to be a challenge. Ball working around, shot. Oh, off the stick of Leiden. That was a shot off the stick of Bruno. Bruno thought he had something. Leiden denies. Pass over to Hayes. And in the offensive zone, Buzzio calling a timeout, settling things down. You see Buzzio extremely smart with his timeouts too, right? Knows when to call them, and he can get them off pretty much in an instant. You see a lot of times where ball gets past midfield and instantly calls timeout with a couple defenders in the area.
Yeah, Coach Chip Buzzio does a great job of just noticing when something could possibly go wrong for the Rams. And, it's amazing how he can get those timeouts off and draw something up for the Rams really quickly. And he uses them at good times, but doesn't waste them when it's not needed.
We'll see. We'll get a replay of that first New Canaan goal. Beautiful shot by Wildman up top, aiming for the upper part of the net and hitting his spot. Putting the Rams up 1-0 here early on. 4:56 remaining, and you talk about travel. The Gaels driving down about 45 minutes to an hour. They did show up an hour early too as well, but got to wonder how that takes an effect really in any game where you're traveling.
Yeah, hopefully they beat the rush hour traffic if they came an hour early, but it's definitely, being an athlete myself, being on the field, and, driving to far games, it's hard to get off the bus and just be ready to go. Your legs are tight, and you have to be able to get a really good warm-up in, which will really pay off, when you get to game time.
Here early on, too, lots of shots by the Rams. There was a big save by Elliott. Another shot by Wildman. You see off the reaction early. Then an interesting shot selection kind of going from the opposite hand. And just continue to pepper shots.
Yeah, Campisi's great at, just running around and trying to find a shot. He's not afraid to shoot on the run, or he can really shoot from any spot. I remember last year in the Darien, I believe it was the semifinal game in the SEAC tournament, he came around and wasn't even a behind-the-back goal, John. It was just kind of a wraparound shot. It was just amazing to see his athleticism from any point on the field.
And a lot of these guys, not just one-sport athletes, multi-sport athletes. Of course, the Leiden brothers, Kroll, all a part of that hockey team that did a lot of good stuff this past offseason, although they didn't come away with any they did win the FCAC championship. They unfortunately didn't win the state championship, which they really wanted to, as the Gaels are going to be a man down in a moment. The Rams are going to try to score. 4:25 remaining. Roeder up top, getting physical with his defender. Feeds it off to Reed inside, picked up by the Gaels. 4:15. We'll see what the penalty was. I couldn't quite exactly tell.
Slash.
Was a slashing. It'll be a minute. The Gaels are down, and an opportunity right for New Canaan to extend this one-goal lead, already up 1-0. An opportunity to maybe tally another two if they're lucky.
Yeah, the Rams' man-up play has been interesting to me this year. It's a lot of just swinging around and trying to find a lane to take a step-down shot. It's not much of really drawn up play, and I think it works with a team with such good shooters.
And you talk about it, the Rams offense definitely more of a perimeter-oriented offense. So you mentioned a bunch of good shooters around, and how do you capitalize off an opportunity like this early on, and where do you go?
Just not only ball movement, but just moving your feet. There's always a lane open when there's a man down, because obviously not everyone can be covered. And you see Laddick come around back now, and those are the looks you need to look for. Unfortunately, it didn't go their way, but when Laddick comes around in that situation, it's what's able to catch Iona off guard, and the Rams to be able to net one.
It was good vision by Reed, too, kind of watching as Laddick was making his cut inside. Ball turned over back to the Gaels. Now just 15 seconds remaining on the penalty. With 3:25 in the first quarter.
I believe we had a crease violation there on the Rams.
The ball cleared past midfield. Be Fahey. Fahey over to Torella. Then back up top to Pascaretta. Gaels needing something, take the momentum from the penalty that was just cleared, so now you're at even strength. Take some of that defensive momentum and turn it into something offensive, right? Get a couple cutters, take a couple shots, and kind of ease into this game.
Yeah, Iona has not gotten many shots on that. There's been a lot of passing around, and they really just haven't been able to find anything again. I think you need to use Davis here and take a dodge. We see them in an empty set here, no one on the crease, 200 formation here for the Gaels, and I think this is a great time to set a pick for Crew Davis, and he's got a short stick on. It's a great time for him to dodge and try to go to the net.
And how do you beat a defense like the Rams where they're playing you top? You see Leiden just right over nearing, just always looking to bring extra pressure, kind of double if that guy slips past, if Davis slips past his short stick.
Yeah, you really got to find the short sticks here. It's kind of, you got Wunderlich and Maz on the field who are both just such great athletes, but that might be your best shot against this Rams defense.
You see Davis maintains possession through the contact by Leahy and Leiden. The shot in front.
Crease violation there.
And Bruno took a step into the crease. Instead of being a goal, Bruno fortunately robbed of the goal. It will be 1-0 still Rams, but a good opportunity for the Gaels here early on. Mentioned rolling around the crease, getting near Leiden as Leiden tries to carry it up. Here is Leahy. Leahy switching hands, switching to his left.
Rams got to get a touch in here. Still haven't touched into the box. Yeah.
There will be a violation. Possession back to the Gaels. Davis clearing it over to Galata.
Seems like there was a little bit of miscommunication there from the Rams. Leahy came down and never got a touch and passed it off, and the Rams just weren't. It seemed like they weren't on the same page there.
Yeah, and those defensive miscues, those mental miscues you can't have in a game like this. Beautiful night out as the sun is starting to set, and you also have to wonder how that affects the goalie's vision. You see Leiden really in the sun right now.
Yeah, being a football guy, it usually goes the other way around. It gets colder as the season goes on and darker. But, as a former lacrosse player, it's always nice when it finally gets warm out. As the sun goes down, once the lights come on, it's definitely harder to see the ball, but it's a white ball. You'll be able to see it. And, it's just an adjustment they have to make. But, Leiden and Jack Kroll both have so much experience as a goalie that they're able to, pick up different settings, weather, and able to just play with it.
Yeah, and most teams would be fortunate to have one goalie. Better yet, the Rams have two really strong goalies. Leiden committed to play at the next level at Michigan, following in the footsteps of his brother Bryce, just a year younger, so won't be joining next year, but the year after, as Bryce clears the ball into the offensive zone and tries to feed it off to Wunderlich. Ball goes past the stick of the senior, and the Gaels now getting possession back. That'll do it here for the first quarter of action. A long pass up. The final score at the end of this first quarter is 1-0 New Canaan. We'll see you back here on NCTV 78 in just a few moments for the second quarter of action.
Yo, what's up, NCTV?
Welcome back here live on NCTV 78 for the second game of the doubleheader. Myself, John Frieders, joined alongside Tucker Stevens. JT wins another faceoff, hasn't lost one here today. Won all three. New Canaan back into the offensive zone. Henry Laddick, point guard of this offense. Talk about a younger offense for New Canaan this year. Laddick, a senior captain. Campese on there at the top of the key. Right now, Maddie Reed touching the ball. So Rams moving the ball around and, coming into the season, right, Tucker? Talking to some of these guys, it wasn't just one guy who was going to lead the offense. It was going to be a team effort, and I think we've seen that through the first couple of games. The Rams sitting right now 8-1, very strong start to the season.
Yeah, Iona's really been seeming to try to shut down Campese, too. They have the long stick against them, and they were just up on the 45-yard line, 35 yards away from the goal on Campese, which is so irregular to see a defenseman doing.
Well, but Campese likes to shoot, right? He's definitely got the stick, committed to play at the next level at Denver, and he shows he's not scared to shoot the ball from 20, 25 yards out.
I don't know about 35 yards, though, John. That's quite the shot. It's just interesting to see the pressure that they're putting on him.
Ball back down low at X is New Canaan. Quick shot by Wildman, shifting the hands quickly, firing it over the head of Moorhart. Maddie Reed trailing around. Finds his guy, then the shot by Roeder. Good save by Moorhart, and you can tell New Canaan definitely a team of shooters. You see them take a lot of shots from that 15, 20-yard range. Good shot by Roeder, just easily picked up by Moorhart. And turnover by the Gaels. New Canaan, ball goes off the stick of Laddick. Now Laddick moving, kind of twining himself in between defenders. Now near the New Canaan sideline. Shifting around quickly. Good defense by Pascaretta. Laddick with the short stick on him right now.
Really vital that Laddick takes advantage of this. An attackman that's a great dodger. Going against the short stick is something you really want to use to your advantage if you're the Rams right now.
See the Rams offense clearing out a little bit, giving Laddick more than enough room to work, a lot of space. Shifting hands, flips it off to Reed. Reed working through the middle, looking for the cross pass to Mazabras, but ball picked up by the Gaels, now on the clear. Clearing it past midfield. Aggressive defense by Roeder on the ride. The Gaels really haven't found any offense in that first quarter. Now looking, first couple minutes of this second too as well spent in the defensive side of this turf. Pascaretta dumping the ball off, down low to X. At X, that's John Torella.
See Harden getting in for the Rams. We talked about this before the game. It's just the depth on the roster. Chase Harden, senior, high point commit, very talented athlete, great hockey player as well. He's not afraid to use his body. He's not the biggest guy in the field, but he plays like it sometimes, John.
Yeah, you talk about it again. A lot of multi-sport athletes. A lot of guys, or most of these guys, are playing club lacrosse throughout the entire summer part of the fall. Lacrosse definitely a year-round sport here in New Canaan. Pass across the middle, ball picked up by Leiden. Now Leiden, a long pass. See if he can find a stick. Laddick pushed from behind. Ref with his hand in the air. They will award New Canaan with possession.
Yeah, John, we were talking about, two-sport athletes, and can't forget about the three-sport athlete, Jackson Kroll. Three sports, football, lacrosse, and hockey, and he plays three positions in football, which is just, it's so crazy to see at such a young age how talented of an athlete he is.
Yeah, and, talking about Jackson Kroll, calling a lot of football games, calling your name, Tucker, actually, as you were kicking the ball through the uprights. Just seeing Jackson Kroll's development this year, really, in all three sports, right? But I think it's very noticeable in football where he really took that next step up, filled in where he needed to fill in, and then in hockey, too, as well. Just Great to see his progression. Cam Wyden too as well. And that's part of this young New Canaan offense, right? There's a lot of learning that goes in early part of the season. New Canaan definitely not an easy schedule one bit. You've got teams like Prep, Darien, who they haven't played, but even out-of-state teams. They started off the season at Mamaroneck and Staples Christian Brothers. Wilton, always tough matchups. You know, there's a lot of learning that goes into an offense like this, and a lot of the times, you know, the way you start the season is not the way you finish the season.
Yeah, you know, I feel like last year, and even the year before that, the Rams really, you know, they're a great team and just were unlucky in the playoffs, and it did come out their way. But, you know, I think right now it's just the difference is all the young guys. It's a lot more, you know, resilience in these guys, and they're working hard. And I think that's the difference between having a younger team and an older team is the younger guys are able to build off of each other, and it can really pay off at times.
Wildman being pressured down low. Lex to dump it off to Mazabras. Zabras moving around. He didn't play all football season because of an injury. Otherwise, he would have played out there. Roby way up. Possession goes to the Gaels. Gaels now, substitutions being put in. They score! Lucas Stelter with the goal for the Gaels, neutralizing this game at 1, I should say. Stelter able to get in, find a groove, find some shooting space, and buries it.
Yeah, Stelter definitely a bigger body out on the right. You know, as we look at the replay, he comes around the top, gets top side on Harden, and is just able to, you know, net that one bottom left corner on Cam Lyden. That's just a great shot. You know, opposite side of his stick and low. It's just really hard as a goalie to be able to make that save.
Going high to low too as well. You know, you want to mix it up, going high to low, low to high. You know, side shot too as well. Just kind of mix it up, mix up your shooting spots. JT wins another face-off.
Another violation here.
Another violation. Ball back to the Gaels. All knotted up at 1. 6:44 remaining in the second quarter. Live on NCTV 78. Thank you for joining us, tuning in to the live stream. Shaping up to be a very good game here tonight, Tucker. And you know, coming in, we knew it was going to be a good game with the talent on both of these teams. Ball back down low at X in the stick of Fahey.
Iona's, you know, starting to seem more comfortable out here on the field. You know, as we were talking about earlier, it's hard to get off the bus from an hour, 45 minutes, hour bus ride. You know, it might have taken a quarter for them to, you know, step up, but you know, the Rams should have probably tried to take more advantage of that. And, you know, the Gaels seem to be warm now.
The RC moving around the pick, then dumps it off. Ball far side to Crew Davis. Davis, 6 feet, 170, big frame, multi-sport athlete as well. A star on the football field, star on the lacrosse field. Going to play both at UNC. Not next year, but the year after, just a junior. Very athletic. Head coach Rick Trezano calls the timeout for the Gaels. 5:53 remaining in the second quarter. You know, just settling things down. You know, seizing the opportunity to really set up an offensive possession, move the ball around, draw up a play. And Tucker, if you're the Gaels, how do you come out of this timeout and then effectively convert?
You know, I just think really just draw someone up that's strong right now. You know, you have Davis. You know, obviously they're going to have Lyden on him, who's so difficult to dodge on. But, you know, I think you find a good matchup against a short stick right now. Maybe not go with Crew Davis on the ball and try to have him cut backside. But, you know, right now I think it'd be crucial for them to just get a short stick, maybe try to get him behind the net and take a dodge from X and look for a feed to Davis.
Yeah, and you talk about kind of operating on the short sticks with this New Canaan defense and them changing so effortlessly and sliding. You know, how do you open up and kind of create those matchups where you have short sticks on you? Because you know Lyden's going to be locked on to Crew Davis the entire night. You know, Hayes is going to be locked on to his guy who is Plunkett, and you need to be able to create some space and utilize some off-ball matchups.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard, especially against this defense, to find an open man and to catch them off guard with a bad slide. But, you know, I think the best way to do it is just setting picks on and off the ball. You know, you can set a pick on a guy that doesn't have the ball in his hands, and that's something that could really pay off. You know, if you set a pick on a guy like Roby and then find him as a cutter, it can be very crucial to catch the Rams off guard.
Definitely interesting to hear your take, Tucker. And the Gaels trying to add another one, go up by 1. It would be a big momentum boost. 5:53 remaining in this second quarter. Now the clock is rolling, but the Gaels still also very content with moving the ball around, very patient offense, looking for shots, looking for cutters. This New Canaan defense doing a good job at staying together as one pack. See up top, Pascaretta working, he shoots and scores.
I believe that was Crew Davis actually there. Nope, you're right, Pascaretta.
Pascaretta, number 7, puts the ball back. You see the celebration afterward. It looked like it was a little bit of a late hit by that New Canaan defense. That's why there was a celebration that ensued. You see on the replay, beautiful bounce shot. The late hit by Harden.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to find a good matchup for Davis right now with Leiden guarding him. He's just such a talented defenseman. So, you know, you find Blake Schwartz, who, you know, without a doubt is a great athlete in, you know, football and lacrosse, but, you know, Pascaretta is a great dodger, and he was able to take that split dodge down the alley and just find a great matchup against Schwartz there.
Pascaretta, the Jacksonville commit, also a captain of this Gale team. The referees all meeting in front of the Gales bench. We'll see what they assess on Harden.
You know what I like also about Iona Prep, and you know, I'm sure their coaches like it too, is just they're shooting high to low or bounce shots, and you know that's what coaches preach, especially at the young age. And even when you get older, it's just the most successful way, because when you put your stick low, the goalie, it's 95% of the time that ball is going high, and the goalie's going to know, and you're shooting away from his stick. So the bounce shots and just the low shots are able to catch the goalie off guard, and kind of catch them in tighter situations.
You can tell early on here that the Gales, very well coached team, just the way that they're operating, although they did get off to more of a slower start. New Canaan, their offense didn't get off to a better start, you would say. And now a little insult to injury too as well. The Gales with possession, man up for a minute. A great shot on the goal by Pascaretta. The Gales with an automatic possession, looking to tally another one on the man-up advantage and just grinding out this game too as well. Ball being moved around up top to Davis. Then far side, back down low to X. See, quick ball movement. Davis dumps it off. No one staying in any one position. Shot from the side, back of the net. Stelter adds another one for the Gales.
That was a great feed there, you know, just across the net. They find a great skip pass, which, you know, it's hard to find those passes across the net where you got 5 guys and plus the goalie, 6 guys just standing there. And, you know, they're able to make that feed across to Stelter, and it just caught the Rams completely off guard. They're all facing the other way, and Stelter's just able to drain that shot.
Yeah, you see the Gales really set it up by moving the ball around the perimeter, and then the cross crease pass, beautiful pass to Stelter. Stelter finds the back of the net. Man-up advantage goes away now instead of the Gales being up by 1, up by 2, 3-1, 5:06 remaining. JT in to take another face-off for the Rams. But Stelter adds another impressive shot from the corner.
Yeah. O'Neal's able to get that one, even though, you know, he didn't win the initial clamp, but he's just such a good athlete. You know, he used to be on the football field as well, but, you know, he's just so great at running when he can't win that faceoff. And we see Chip Buzzio use another one of his famous timeouts at a great time.
Yeah, Buzzio calls a timeout right away once O'Neal got possession, then moved across the 50. Now if you're the Rams, down by 2, you know, don't panic, still tons of time left, but that has to be concerning, the lack of offense, not just in this second quarter, but also really this entire first half. They've gotten a couple of shots, but they really haven't had any offensive production except for that one goal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Rams approach here. You know, you got just under 5 minutes left, and I think, you know, I think getting the ball to a guy like Wildman or Reed right now is probably your best option. You know, the young guys, let them eat. And, you know, I think go back to your original thing. Just keep taking shots. You know, even though they weren't falling, the Rams were showing success in their, you know, dodging and feeding ability and their off-ball movement.
The Gales doing a good job of blocking off Cole Campese too as well, making things difficult, being aggressive, you know, sending over a double team to pressure. And something's been working, and maybe Campese has to turn into more of a facilitator, right? Look for passes across. I mean, just look at the way the Gales opened up the offensive zone and that New Canaan defense by spreading the ball around the perimeter, then finding that cross crease pass. And New Canaan's offense definitely still some growth here to be seen. Campisi's going to start with the ball. 4:55 remaining in this second quarter. Gaels up 3-1 live on NCTV. Myself, John Frieders, joined alongside Tucker Stevens. If you're just joining us, Gaels up 3-1. If you've been watching from the beginning, New Canaan trying to find their way back into this game. The Gaels definitely a tale of two quarters. Looked much more comfortable in the second quarter. The ball's being moved around. Mazabras down low. Campisi opened himself up as an option for the pass from Reed over to Campisi. Campisi cross. Pass up to Laddick. Looked like he was trying to float one in instead. Going out. Ball being fought for. Laddick up against the long pole. Laddick all in the mix for the ground ball. Ground ball is so important. New Canaan still fighting. Flag goes up in the air. That New Canaan bench likes that call. New Canaan going to get possession with the man advantage.
Yeah, the Rams are just so aggressive, as I was talking about earlier on the ride. You see, Matt Reed, Laddick, they're all in there going for it. That's something that, you'll catch a penalty like that at times. But, Reed came up with the ball there before he got shoved and pushed down. And, that's just really just shows the resilience in these young guys. They're not afraid to get hit. And you just see it pay off there.
Hillman on the far side. He's got Reed up top. Roeder next to him, then crosses Laddick.
It's nice to see Ronan Hillman out on the field. He's a senior. He had a goal in last game against Rumson. It's great to see him, just getting some time on the man-up unit. Even though he's not, a primary starter, it's just great for the Rams to find him a place on the field, John.
And he comes off a torn ACL during that hockey season, which sidelined him for much of the hockey season. Very difficult injuries. Talking about torn ACLs, there is a lot of ACL injuries as Reed takes the shot wide. Ronan Hillman, of course, tore his ACL.
I believe it was the year before. I think he tore his ACL. His junior season, I believe he tore it.
Junior season, and then was out for most of his senior season. And also, of course, Maddie Tully, the big name for the girls lacrosse team, tore ACL to start the season in that last game too as well. Annabelle Adams and Darien tore her ACL, wishing her the best. So you just see it quite often as here is Wildman working, spins, then flips around, getting some space, and scores! See that? He likes that. Beautiful move by Wildman, getting just an inch of space, able to convert bottom right corner, and this replay will be fun to watch.
Yeah, Wildman, that's his second of the game, and I've been talking about preaching this all game is when you get a short stick on an attackman, they really have to take advantage of that. We see Wildman there. He doesn't get the initial dodge off and then is able to go under and just net that goal.
Yeah, you see too, right, Tucker, taking advantage, as you said perfectly, just taking advantage of the short stick matchup. Those are the matchups that you hunt out, you try to find. Wildman found one, then operated, and if he shoots that ball away, that's a good opportunity with the short stick on him, because more than often he'll convert. Gaels up 3-2, 3:18 remaining in this first half. JT O'Neill in again for New Canaan with the faceoff up against Nuco. New Canaan wins the faceoff, ball in the stick of Schwartz. Schwartz over to Reed. Back to Wildman. Wildman 2 goals on the day. One of the team leaders in points this season. Having a stellar sophomore campaign. Ball far side, then back down low to X is Reed. Reed over to Campisi. Campisi near side. Looking for a matchup. He's got a long pole now. Switch with the short stick on him.
Campisi hasn't really had a short stick matchup. Yeah, you just see him communicate over to Wildman to get out of the way, and here he dodges.
Campisi coming across that far side. He takes the shot wide right of Morehard. Wildman, just a freshman, already, putting in good minutes at the varsity level, playing strong. One of the key pieces of this offense. Just think about, in 1-2 years, how good he's going to be. Roeder now short stick on him, looking across, feed over to Mazabras. Back down low over to Laddick in the hands of the senior captain. He switches, spins, Good pick set by Mazabras, but a good slide by that Gale defense. That was Garrity on the strong slide. Laddick inside, he's got some shooting space. Bounce shot just wide left of the cage. Zabras on the far side, still guarded by Garrity. See Wildman looking for a cutter inside. He takes the shot, trying to go low to high. Misses high over the head of Moorhart.
Yeah, Wildman really likes that wraparound shot, quick underhand, and he finds success in it sometimes. And it's a great shot to take, and he's just got to keep taking them.
Zabras feed over to Campese, and I think part of that is Wildman knows that one of his strengths is his quick hands. Use that to his ability. The good bounce shot by Campese over the head of Moorhart.
Moorhart wins the chase there, and Iona gets the ball back.
Very important, under siege the Gaels for a few consecutive minutes. Canaan just peppering shots on the Gaels. And the Gaels can get back into the offensive zone. Cruz coming across the middle, the midfielder moving it into the offensive zone. Gaels up 3-2, under a minute to go in this second quarter. Looking, if you're the Gaels, trying to have this hold for the last possession, a final really good opportunity, good shot. Put yourself up by 2 going into halftime.
Yeah, it's definitely something you want to do as the Gaels. You don't want to give, New Canaan, even though it doesn't say so on the scoreboard, they're hot right now, John. They've been taking a lot of shots, and, I think Iona just needs to do what they're doing right now, swing the ball around and, hold till there's, 15 seconds left, take a dodge, and, hope for the best.
You see Hayes guarding, and now short stick matchup switching on Plunkett. All fed up top to Bruno. Bruno takes the shot, step down shot wide right of the cage. 13.5 seconds remaining, but also Tucker, trying to open up, trying to get a short stick matchup. Got Harden on defense right now. Final shot. Aggressive Rams defense. We'll see if they can get a shot off. That shot wide.
Now we just get to see Lyden chuck the ball down the field, and 0.3 seconds left. I think that was a great opening half, John.
Yeah, and how about for the Gaels, that last possession, maybe not the way you wanted it to end if you're a Gaels fan, but you go into half up by 1. Defensive adjustments going to be made for both teams. More offensive adjustments, though. Just 5 combined goals in the first half. We'll see you back here on NCTV with the second half of action in just a few moments.
This game is sponsored by our NC Rams All Sports Booster Club Platinum and Gold sponsors. We would like to thank our Platinum sponsor, Quest Builders Group, a general contracting, construction management, and consulting company who proudly supports all of our high school athletes. We would like to thank our Platinum sponsor, Dr. William Fessler of Fessler Family Dentistry, the dental office for your entire family's dental needs. At William Fessler Family Dentistry, smile. You're in good hands. We thank Platinum sponsor Frangione Engineering. Planning on putting in a pool or an addition onto your house? Are you having drainage issues on your property? Frangione Engineering can help you find a solution. Platinum sponsors and NCHS alumni Leo and Steve Carl of Carl Chevrolet, who have been proud supporters of local athletic programs for generations. Their dealership has been serving Fairfield County since 1927. Their team is ready to assist with all of your automotive needs. We thank Platinum sponsor Manfredi Jewels. Manfredi Jewels, your local official Rolex jeweler, is excited to continue carrying the finest jewelry and watch brands, and welcome the New Canaan community into their newly renovated store this fall. Go Rams! Platinum sponsor Renaissance Partners, a family-owned and New Canaan-based residential building and remodeling company serving all of Fairfield County. We thank Platinum sponsor Walter Stewart's. Walter Stewart's Market has supported NC Rams athletics and the entire New Canaan community for years. Walter Stewart's is your fresh local market. We also thank our platinum sponsor, Hoyt Livery, for 30 plus years of service. We would like to thank our gold sponsor, Anderson Kenny Architecture, a full-service practice that encompasses a range of commissioned residential and commercial projects. Each project is a thoughtful collaboration tailored for clients and their needs. The outcome is highly personal, constructed with intention and integrity. We thank another gold sponsor, Club Sandwich, a family-owned deli right here in town serving the New Canaan community since 1986. They are a proud sponsor of the New Canaan community and all of our sports teams. And we thank NC Graphics LLC, a gold sponsor who is a constant supporter of the NCHS Booster Club. They are a custom graphics company located right here in New Canaan for all of your logo designing needs. Again, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. The NC Rams All Sports Booster Club supports all New Canaan High School athletics. Go Rams!
We could do the tri-state one. What? We could do the tri-state one on the 21st. Let's do it. Yeah.
Welcome back here live on NCTV 78 for the second half of action between the New Canaan Rams and the Iona Prep Gaels. The Gaels up 3-2 here at Dunning Field, home of the Rams. The Gaels came out strong in that second quarter, able to tally 2 goals, get their way back into this game. Wildman has the 2 goals for New Canaan, 2 quite impressive goals. But, you know, the Gaels doing a good job of just slowing things down, right? Looking kind of striking when they see an opportunity as Matty Reed works around his defender, looking to cut across the middle. He takes the bounce shot. Good save by Modert. See in the corner, got Laddick. Laddick looking across. He's got a short stick on him. My apologies, that's a long stick. Laddick back up top to Roeder. Roeder with a short stick, looking for a matchup. You know, we talked about it a lot, Tucker, but looking at those matchups, Modert makes the initial save, and Mazabras able to pick up the rebound, put it back of the net, neutralizing this game 3-3. Rams and Gaels, you see celebration by Mazabras. Mazabras picking up the rebound, putting it in the back of the net.
Yeah, Mazabras did a great job there. Mazabras is a very talented crease midfielder. You know, the Rams are very good. As we see here on the replay, you know, ball swung over to Reed and then over, and then, you know, Modert makes a great save, and Mazabras is just able to pick it up, and he's so quick with his hands, and he's just so great on the crease, and that's what really paid off there for the Rams.
That initial shot by Roeder, you know, good shot by Roeder, good save by Modert, and then Mazabras just right place, right time, and you need some of those goals, right, where it's just positioning, and good job by the Rams, tally the first goal early on as Leiden gets the ground ball, looking to move it back in the offensive zone, long pass over to Laddick. Laddick far side. Laddick's got Garcia tacked to him. Garcia, the freshman. Campese over to Mazabras. Mazabras with the goal just a moment ago. Looking for the dodge up top, rolling around, moves it down low to X. At X, that's Matt Reed. Laddick moving around on his left hand, spins, gets a good screen from Mazabras, but a good job sliding by the Gael defense.
He's got the short stick right now. As we keep preaching, John, it's a great time for him to take advantage.
Far side, pass over up top to Roeder. Roeder feeds it. The shot by Campese far left, but even you see there just little to no hesitation by Campese to pull up, take a shot. You know, that's what happens. He finds some room, takes a shot with that shot, which is a strength of his. See that far side getting aggressive with Wildman, the freshman. And the near side, Roeder working on his defender, down low to Reed at X. Far side is Laddick. Laddick working around, looked like he thought about shooting it. Campese down low. Good scoop by Reed. Now Reed, long stick on him, that's Delane. Delane moving around, Reed pulls around, looking for the cross crease pass. Shot by Campese, good defensive play though. The trail check, able to check and change the direction of the shot.
Yeah, great trail check by Galata there, you know. It's Campese, you know, it was a great pass by Reed, and, you know, he's able to come up with the ball, but, you know, unfortunately for Campese, that was just a great check, and you can't really do much about that. You know, he was hanging his stick a little bit, which is definitely something you want to, you know, avoid at times, but it was a great job there to pick that up from Galata.
Gaels now moving into the offensive zone. On the stick of Crew Davis. Davis over to Pascaretta. Pascaretta with the goal on the day here tonight. Beautiful night at Dunning Field. You see now the sun, all the shadows away from the field. Will get dark eventually, but just nice, cool night here in New Canaan. Some great lacrosse all knotted up at 3, 8:35 remaining in this third quarter.
Yeah, you can't. Perfect weather. Just such a perfect game so far. You know, 3-3. You know, as someone watching this game, you just, you know, you're so grateful to be able to just watch two talented teams play right now.
And you talk about it, of course, former football player for the Rams. Tucker, you know, the shift in seasons where for football you're going from warm to cold. You know, lacrosse, one of the great things, you're going from cold to warm, so it progressively gets warmer, and it's a beautiful night out here tonight.
Yeah, John, I hate playing in the cold in football. And, you know, it's playing in Maine next year should be fun, but you know, it's great to see, you know, when the guys come out here and, you know, they start off wearing their sweatpants at practice, and then they're able to, you know, slowly go into the shorts during the season. Bounce
Shot to the left of Kroll. In case this is your first time watching a New Canaan game, New Canaan switches goalies at the half. You might say, oh, but Leiden was having a good game. Both goalies always split time no matter what, even if Leiden were to give up no goals. Kroll comes in at the second half, both very strong, and Kroll actually has a goalie goal. He scored it earlier this year. That was an electric goal.
He scored that one in the St. Joe's game, which was, you know, just a defensive battle between St. Joe's.
Beautiful shot by Stelter, his second of the day. Low to high past the stick of Kroll. Stelter, low to high, looked like he shot top left corner. Beautiful shot.
Yeah, Stelter having a game so far. Hopefully we can get a replay up here.
Now the celebration by Stelter, then back in. Now 4-3 Gaels on top. You see the replay, the celebration afterwards by Stelter.
Yeah, it's just a great pass down to Stelter. Stelter was just able to take another great shot. You know, goes high and is just able to net that one pretty easily.
O'Neal now in again, taking the face-off for the Rams, fighting. Able to push the ball to the far side, looking to scoop up the ground ball. Gaels still poking at it.
O'Neal able to come out with everything today. You know, he's probably only won, like, he's won probably about 70% of the clamps out of today's face-offs, but he's still just coming over the ball on every face-off, which just shows, you know, he's got that dog mentality. He's able to pick up that ball and go with it.
Leahy has the ball poked free, able to gain possession back. Buzzio with the quick timeout. As we mentioned, Buzzio calls those timeouts quickly. Taking another one, that ball past midfield, and now coming out of the half. You know, Tucker, what are you looking for from this New Canaan offense? Of course, it did net one earlier in this quarter, but what are you looking for out of the timeout?
You know, I think just, you know, as they've been preaching all game, just taking more shots and, you know, finding those short stick matchups. And I think, you know, right now, just working on getting those shots more towards the net. You know, you've taken the shots, you're warmed up now. You know, about halfway through the second or third quarter, you know, it's a great time for them to just, you know, start getting those shots more on net.
Now we're going to see a replay of that last goal. We didn't get the right angle the first time. Beautiful angle. This time, Tucker, walk me through that play.
Yeah, so, you know, we see a pass down to Stelter there, and that's it's just a great shot. And, you know, he goes stick side high on Jackson Kroll, who's at net now. Obviously switches with Leiden, but, you know, that's just a great shot. You know, pass down. You know, we get the slow-mo here. Just he takes his stick low and goes high right where Kroll's stick is, but it shows, you know, Stelter's talent as a shooter is able to, you know, get that shot off and put it high on Jackson Kroll.
It looked like Kroll might have thought the ball was going towards its 5-hole until it was going high. That ball just kept on rising, finding the back of the net. Gaels on top, 4-2-3, 6:58 remaining in this third quarter. The Rams with the offensive possession coming out in a set. I'm assuming they have a play drawn up, or at least a play to get a shot from the outside.
Yeah, we'll see the approach here. You know, Gray Wildman has two, Mazavers has one. They're both on the field right now. But, you know, I like the idea. You know, Finn Roeder's got the ball right now, and he's not the fastest guy on the field. You know, him and Campese are very different players. But, you know, we haven't seen too much from Roeder yet. And I think, you know, just giving Roeder the ball and letting him use that big body of his to try to get to the net might be a success for the Rams.
See, up top is Reed. Reed working, cradling in that left hand. Dumping it down low to Campese. Campese bodying a guy off the ball. Back down low to Reed. Up top is Roeder. Roeder faking. He takes the shot off of his own player. That's off the leg of Wildman. Wildman limping off now. He still goes towards the bench. Rams in transition. Ball down low and scores.
Laddick's helmet pops off on the play. And, you know, we see Wildman quickly get off. And, you know, thankfully the Rams without, you know, they're still missing a guy. We're able to score there.
You see great swift play in transition. The celebration from Laddick afterwards. But, the ball comes off. Good defensive play on the ride. Able to gain possession back, then move the ball up quickly. And Laddick able to net one, putting the Rams, or neutralizing this game at 4.
Yeah, here's a great replay. We had Laddick, he comes under and then comes up top to the crease. And, that's just a great, fake high, shoot low. And that's, it's a great goal there by Henry Laddick, the senior.
Nothing Morehard could do in net, too, as well. You mentioned as close as he was, had him jumping up in the air. Now New Canaan all neutral at 4 with the Gaels. 6:06 remaining in this third quarter. All knotted up at 4. JT once again wins another face-off, cramping the ball. Now far side, and you mentioned not scared to shoot. Instead dumps it off to Schwartz. Schwartz over to Leiden. Leiden taking the shot. Oh, almost found the back of the net.
Leiden had Reed wide open there in his left, and that could have been a great look. I'm not saying that was a bad take by Leiden. It's great to see a pole shooting the ball, but he did have Reed there, and it's just great to see the Rams have so many options right now.
It's tempting as a pole, right? You get an opportunity to shoot the ball. Those guys really don't pass up opportunities to shoot the ball because they're so scarce and so far in between when you're coming down and you have an opportunity to shoot the ball. So maybe not the best shot, but an opportunity as Campese takes the shot, bounced way in front of the net, and as you see Wildman back out there after taking the ball to the leg.
Yeah, it's just something that stings for a minute, John. It's not, obviously you're not breaking the leg over a ball to the leg, but, it's great to see Wildman able to get back on the field and move it around again.
Laddick far side. He's got defender on a beautiful move, able to come over top, take the shot wide left, but beautiful move by Laddick to shake his defender.
That's a similar move to Laddick's last goal. He goes underneath and, tries to come around. And, it's just a great take there from Laddick once again.
Rams operating, shot by Reed, far left, rebound picked up, Roeder up top, now spinning around, he takes the step down shot. Rebound goes to the Gaels after a few minutes of consistent offensive pressure. You see Campese, Roeder trying to get back, Roeder on the chase. Pascaretta moving now, the Gale offense into the zone.
Yeah, Rams trying to get some fresh legs on the field. They had Roeder and Campese, who are definitely primarily offensive guys. As you see, Maz are really running onto the field right now, just trying to get the fresh legs and primarily defensive midfielders on.
Up top, ball in the stick of Crew Davis. We haven't called his name much here tonight. New Canaan doing a good job neutralizing Davis and Plunkett, our two guys we talked about in the open for the Gales offense.
And New Canaan does a great job against, when they know that, a team has one kind of standout player, they do a great job. I remember last year, the Rams were playing against Cheshire, and they had the talented star in Matt Jeffrey, Notre Dame football and lacrosse player, another football and lacrosse player at the very high Division I level. And, they shut them down, and they do a great job of just, finding the right matchup. And, that shows so much, respect to Coach Grant Harvey, the defensive coach for this Rams team.
Yeah, and you talk about it. I was actually just thinking of the same thing. Matt Jeffrey coming in and all the attention, the focus around him, of course, playing at Notre Dame. He's being talked about right now, actually, for his performance during the lacrosse season. And, not just last year, but the year before, junior year, too, as well, when everyone was talking about him. The New Canaan defense completely shut him down. He had a point in almost every game, or a goal in every other game except for the game against New Canaan. The New Canaan strong job. We'll see flag being thrown.
Ooh. Oh!
Now a bit of physicality.
It's interesting.
Now the bench coming in, a couple guys from the Gales bench. New Canaan and all those guys staying.
Laddick showing great leadership, making sure Wildman and the younger guys are staying away from the fight, So it seems like Wildman got, he got put down pretty hard there. And, right after that happened, Wildman's talking to the ref, and number 25 on Iona, Ben Delane, just kind of takes a shot at Wildman's leg there and hits him with a slash after the play's over and draws another flag. So I'm guessing that's going to be a 2-minute non-releasable penalty there for Iona, and that's a key thing in these close games. That's really not what you want to be doing, John.
And we'll see if we can get a replay in terms of, so we can tell exactly what happened. You see the referees discussing, though. You have to think, as you mentioned, there's going to be some non-releasable penalty where a guy's going to spend time in the box, maybe with a little bit of extra physicality afterwards they even out, right, so that it's still neutral odd man, even man strength.
Yeah,
Both of these teams.
I really like, what Laddick did there. The older guy taking charge. In a close game, you don't want any of these star players for the Rams getting out right now. And it's great to see him pulling everyone away and just keeping everyone calm. And I think that's something that all the New Canaan sports programs really preach is just staying out of the verbal fights and just playing your game.
You talk about a really strong leadership from a guy like Laddick. Laddick, the only senior on this New Canaan offense, and you mentioned that defense, a lot of seniors. But on that offense, Laddick really the only senior, so important that he stands strong as a leader. The possession will go to the Gaels. We'll see what the referee is coming over, pointing up towards the scorebook. It looks like he's holding up a 1 in his hand, a minute penalty.
55 red, 30. 25 red, 1.
So we got
46 white, 1.
2 penalties on Iona and 1 penalty on the Rams here.
You agree with that call, right? The little extra physicality towards the end of the play, definitely not needed, but also kind of started by the 2 penalties by Iona.
Yeah, I like the call. I think it's not the wrong thing to flag line in there, but I'm kind of surprised that that they didn't give a non-releasable penalty there for what happened. There was definitely a lot of pushing and shoving from the Iona side, and even though the Rams fought back, I'm surprised, honestly, that neither of them got a non-releasable penalty. I think that Iona would get one there, but some refs just have different mentalities, and some refs would call non-releasable on both of them.
Wyden in the box for the Rams. 2 Gaels in the box. 1 on a minute penalty, 1 on a 30-second penalty. The Gaels down by a man for 30 seconds after this minute. 3:23 remaining in this third quarter. Very close game. We're in for a very good finish. All knotted up at 4 right now. Tucker, a lot of good lacrosse being played. Definitely more of a defensive style game, very physical.
Mr. Official, please clarify once again.
1 player, minute 30 in the box. 1 player in for a minute 30. Minute 30 for 1 guy.
So they're
for 2-5.
the refs are giving Delane a minute 30 penalty here, so he'll be participating in the box for both penalties there.
And Laddick, or my apologies, Lyden being given a minute himself. The Gaels an opportunity, right? Even strength right now to try to get some offense going. You see defense spread out up top is Harden. Good footwork. Hayes along that far side.
Yeah, some 5-on-5 action, John. It's not something you really see out of, teams don't really practice this very often because you don't see it so much. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Gaels and, eventually maybe the Rams, go about a 5-on-5. And, maybe Iona's going to try to hold on to the ball due to their longer penalty time. But if the Rams get the ball back, I'm really interested to see kind of how they approach this.
It'll be interesting to see if the Gaels attack or if they elect to hold. You see the flailing attempt at a shot by Samus DRC.
Schwartz
New Canaan comes away, and he gets D-twigged.
Schwartz came away with the ball there. He had four defenders on him and still came away with it. And, unfortunately gets D-twigged, and, ball's back in Iona's stick, slowing things down here.
See up top, fake a shot attempt by Bruno. The Gaels still moving the ball around now in the stick of Crew Davis. You can tell he's being doubled up top immediately once he touches the ball. Wunderlich and Schwartz getting in on the action, and Mazza up top now one-on-one with Davis. 8 seconds remaining of this penalty. New Canaan doubling the ball now with Roby. Far side up top, Davis dishes off. Now even strength. Penalties all wiped away. 4. All knotted up at 4, a minute 40 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Down low at X. That was Ryan Elliott. To Pasacreta. Back up top, Pasacreta. He flings it to Fahey. Fahey switches, spins. On his right side, up top to Pasquaretta, who has a goal. Good defensive play, though, by Roby, able to poke the ball free.
That's a great over the head check there by Roby, the BU commit senior. It's just great to see. We've been calling a lot about Lyndon Hayes today, and even Leahy, but you just see Roby kind of come out of the waterworks there and is able to do something.
Roby dumps the ball off. Now New Canaan back in the offensive half of the field. The rotor. See up top, New Canaan working.
We get a
Got a
replay.
replay.
Here's Schwartz trying to clear the ball. Gets through those defenders at first, and that's just a great wrap check on the D-twig on Schwartz. And that just shows the Rams could have came away. Had some time on the man up, but unfortunately we're not able to do that.
Up top, Laddick looking for a shot. Good save. Rebound pops free. Rotor, another shot. Going wide left. 22.2 seconds remaining. All knotted at 4. Clock winding down. New Canaan looking like they're going to continue to attack. Look for something pass. Skip pass. Rotor able to look for the ground ball. New Canaan comes up. Very physical in front, being pushed. This game getting quite physical between the two teams. New Canaan maintaining possession. There will be a penalty on a Gael.
Yeah, John, what I would assume the Rams would do here is just hold on to the ball. You got the penalty. You get to start with the ball if you hold on to the ball in the next quarter. And I think, there's no point really trying to run one of your man-up plays right now with 6 seconds left in the quarter. So, I just think, Reed holds on to it down there in the corner and, just go into the quarter the fourth quarter tied and, let things go from there.
Just 6 seconds remaining. See a minute penalty on the Gaels. You're right, Reed, probably the smart decision to just hold the ball, let the clock run out, start that fourth quarter fresh with possession of the ball. Get ready, try to find an answer, try to get some offense going. All knotted at 4, just 8 goals between the first 32 minutes of play between these two teams. And we'll see you back here on New Canaan Athletics, or on NCTV, my apologies, for the fourth quarter of action. Start of the fourth quarter of action here, all knotted at 4. Live at Dunning Field on NCTV 78. It's the New Canaan Rams and the Iona Prep Gaels. Myself, John Frieders, joined alongside Tucker Stevens. At the end of that third quarter, there was a penalty assessed. Now 45 minutes man up for the Rams. The pass, the shot. Good save by Mohard.
Mohard having a really good, first 3 quarters of this game. And we keep talking about it. The Rams are shooting the ball a lot and taking good shots. He's just really holding his own there. He's a brick wall in net today.
That was a good confident save as Campisi tried to check. Another check attempt by Roby, who's committed to play at the next level at Boston University.
Got a timeout here by Coach Rick Trezano of the Iona Prep Gaels.
And that's a smart timeout, right? Of course, you just had that break in between quarters, but Tucker, where do you go if you're the Gaels right now? You have a moment to settle things down. You have an offensive possession. 22 seconds remaining on this penalty. Of course, you're going to clear that off, but then how do you get some offense against this New Canaan Rams team?
Yeah, the thing we've been talking about all the game is, Crew Davis. We really haven't seen him get the ball much yet. I think they should try to experiment with him, maybe get him 1-2 dodges and shots on net. But, if that doesn't work, I think you just go back to what's been working so far with Stelter and Pascaretta. They've been playing great so far, and I think that's something that the Rams should really, the Gaels should really approach right now.
As for the Rams, Tucker, where do you go if you're the Rams offense? You've had a couple shots from Wildman Reed in recent possessions, but, other than that, the wells run pretty dry here tonight.
Yeah, I think the attackmen have all been playing really good. Maybe Matt Reed could get a couple more shots on Matt. He has it in him. He's a very good attackman for his young age. But, we really haven't seen too much out of the middies and, Campese and Roeder yet. And, as I talked about earlier, they're different players, like very different midfielders, but they're both so talented, and I think they need to, run to the net and try to get some more shots on goal.
Be the Gaels with the first possession, 11:28 remaining in this fourth quarter. Now just 15 seconds remaining on the man down. You see them just running out the clock. Hayes on the chase. Ball being moved around by the Gaels now. Short stick up top. Got Harden and Schwartz doubling Crew Davis.
You got Harden on your double team guy here right now. He's just running around wherever the ball goes. And Harden's got a lot of stamina in him, and he's just a really good athlete. So, you see him running around a lot. Now we're back even here.
Ball now back in the hands of Pasacreta. We've talked about a little bit here tonight. He's got a goal. He's looked extremely confident. Back up top to Pasacreta, over to Crew Davis. Davis guarded by Harden, now in Leiden, switching over, sliding. So the defensive unit just continue to switch off, and we talked about it. We've talked about it a little bit, but the ability to just switch off with multiple defenders that all can lock down teams' number one, number two options, really an advantage for New Canaan. Ball being worked up top by Bruno. Bruno guarded this time by Sullivan.
Shot just goes wide by Bruno. It hits a little hitch dodge there on Sullivan. And Sullivan has the short stick in his hand. He's a great athlete, but same thing applies to the Gaels here. You got to take advantage of those short sticks against such a talented, New Canaan defense lineup.
You see the big shot on the windup. Shot by Stelter, who also has a couple of goals here tonight. Gaels closest to the ball from that far corner, near corner. Ball up top to DRC. Swings it over to Pasacreta. Bruno over, had a bit of room to shoot, then holds up for a second and fires wide left. A tough angle for Bruno from the right side, trying to go left after he was already a couple yards in. Definitely interesting shot selection.
Yeah, Bruno's a quick player. He just hit that hitch dodge earlier, and then he hits the split dodge, and he kind of likes to back away last thing and take that step down shot instead of a shot on the run.
And he did have the goal early on too as well, right? But it was taken away because of the crease violation. Canaan still on defense. Here's pass out from Kroll to Hayes. Hayes quick, it's checked at the ribs. That has to hurt a little bit.
You don't want to draw a flag on a ride. It's hard to just not ride, but you can't slash a defenseman of Will Hayes, and we see Bruno exchanging some words with the ref after there, and that's also not something you want to do. Is you don't want to get that ref mad. You just got to take the penalty and accept the defeat there.
Campese with the ball in his stick. 8:45 remaining. This is where New Canaan looks for a good shot, because if you score, you have automatic possession with the penalty. Far side is Roeder. Roeder down low to Reed. Reed working his matchups. Got a long pull on him, looking for a pass. Laddick over to Campese. Campese, of course, the righty looking for a shot, rolling around his defender, but continues to be locked up. Campese loses possession. Ball picked up by Reed, fighting for it. This midi-corp in attack core of New Canaan. The shot, pass in front, score by Mazabras.
What a goal there by Mazabras, and what a feed. He comes around X, and he finds Mazabras in the Rams. The ball's on the ground, and they don't want to lose that ball, because if they lose the ball, it's a stop of play, and, Iona's going to get the ball back. But the Rams just do a great job of picking that up, and, they're so good, and, when it's unorganized play, and, they do a great job feeding Brady Mazabras for a second of the night.
Zabras, really smart play, smart cut inside too as well, right? You talked about almost in a sense like this, on-ball movement is just as important as off-ball movement, and Zabras displaying that right there.
Yeah, we just see ball getting tossed around, but Zabras actually ended up picking up that ground ball and then comes right back down to the crease and just nets one. And you see the excitement and the celebration with Roeder from the feed and over to Zabras, and the two juniors just firing on all cylinders right now, and it's just great to see from the Rams.
5-4 Rams on top, 8:11 remaining, as well as a minute up man advantage.
The Rams love their low-scoring games, as we've seen so far this season.
JT O'Neal wins the faceoff. New Canaan back into the offensive zone. So now settling things down, right? Getting Campese on the field. You've got Reed with the ball.
Interested to see their approach in man-up right now. Their man-up unit has not found much success yet, and I'm curious to see kind of if they switch up a play or what they kind of approach here.
See Hillman in the middle, too, as well. Shot from Campese, check. He takes a big check. That goes wide high. Reed closest to the ball. New Canaan retains possession. 26 seconds remaining on the man-up advantage. 7:35 in the fourth.
See Hillman kind of sneaking around there, around the crease, just calling for the ball at all times. And I think it's just great off-ball movement.
Good shot by Wildman. Wildman, the celebration. Great move, putting the Rams up by 2. 6-4 Rams on top. Wildman, well, how shifty he is.
Yeah, Wildman gets the hat trick there. Coaches, you don't really want to dodge too much, or unless you're like Wildman and you're just so shifty. Wildman gets his third goal of the night, and it's just great to see it from him there. And he dodges, and Iona probably he caught him off guard. And you see he comes around, goes under, and just pops that one high, and just great shot and goal by Wildman.
The Rams have found some offense here in the fourth quarter. A couple of early goals, 7:23 remaining, up 6-4 now. Beautiful shot. Now another face-off for JT. O'Neal fighting for the ball. Wyden, little poke, good stick awareness, comes away with the ball, then dumps it off.
Kind of launches that one there, and it's picked up there by the keeper. And it's an interesting throw, but it's just gonna kind of slow things down here. And the Rams don't really need to force anything right now.
Garcia with possession, being mauled by a couple Rams defenders. Feeds it off to Pasacreta. Pasacreta is going to have to help this Gale offense get back into this game, because other than that goal he had earlier on, he's been a little bit quieter.
Yeah, interested to see, kind of what Iona goes to here. They've been sticking with their 200 set a lot today, and we see Bruno here, scores!
Bruno, beautiful shot, and scores, switches to his left hand, fires, feeds it right past Kroll. Now 6-5. Rams still on top, but the Gaels hanging around. Good shot by Bruno. We'll see here on the replay. Bruno takes a step to his right, then comes back left, finds some shooting space, buries it.
Yeah, Bruno loves hitting those hitch dodge and split dodges. And, it's not like he's, like a shooter like we see on the Rams. Campese, always loves shooting on the run. He pulls it out last second and takes a step-down shot, giving him a lot more speed on that shot and making it a lot harder for the goalkeeper to save.
JT still in for the Rams. 6-5, Rams on top. 6:35 remaining in this fourth quarter. Gaels come away with
Mazza,
it.
great ride there by Mazza, gets the ball back for the Rams. Mazza just such a great athlete, and you see so much dedication in him, and he runs across the field there to push the Gaels out of bounds.
Seeing now the crowd getting it. This crowd definitely going to become a factor down the stretch. We talked a little bit about it, and a lot of people that you may not see in front on the stands. They kind of pile around, spread out a little bit, but this New Canaan crowd loving the play of this Rams team.
Yeah, it's interesting, John, how the fans at these lacrosse games are always on the left. Up here in the booth, you don't really see what's going on, and then you come out at halftime, and they're all standing over there, and it's great to see the support that this town has for the lacrosse team.
Vladik Campese going back and forth. 6 minutes now remaining in this fourth quarter. Campese far side to Roeder. Roeder guarded by Crew Davis. Roder moves the ball down low to X. Reed looking around, good pass, inside, shot, and score. Mazabras with the hat trick.
Yeah, Mazabras and Wildman both with hat tricks now, having great games. Refs discussing something here over by the crease. Canaan saying goal, Iona saying no goal.
See, it's all going to be about where the refs saw and their vantage point on whether or not they think that Mazabra stepped into the crease. That's what they're talking about.
No goal. They call Matt Reed in the crease. Brady Mazabras in the crease there. And no, New Canaan's just got to get back on the ride here and try to get the ball back.
Our apologies for the celebration. It looked like New Canaan was celebrating. Looked like they had scored. Instead, they ruled that he stepped inside the crease. You see the speed from Crew Davis, the shiftiness. Automatically on the clear, moves it into the offensive zone. You can tell how shifty he is. So if you're the Gale offense, you want to continue getting Crew Davis his touches. Pasacreta also with his touches. He's looked very strong here tonight. Now 5:10 remaining in this fourth quarter. Back up top to Pasacreta. Over to DRC.
Yeah, Iona staying without a guy in the crease, and it's seemed to have been working for them for the most part so far. They haven't had too many shots on goal still, and they're lucky. The game is so close right now. The Rams have been taking a lot of shots, and this has been working for them. And I think they just need to kind of keep it slow. Work with guys like Bruno and Stelter right now, and maybe find Crew Davis his first kind of look at the goal right now.
Ball being moved around, and they definitely have been more of a perimeter-oriented offense here tonight. Kroll snags that ball out of midair, intercepts the pass from Bruno. Not entirely sure who that pass was intended for, but Kroll feeds the pass out to Roby, back to Kroll. Kroll not afraid to walk up the field. Long pass over to Leahy. Leahy pass inside. Beautiful transition game. Reed puts the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, Matt Reed, the sophomore, I've been talking to Reed a lot recently, and just a great family, the Reeds. Matt Reed, just a sophomore, great athlete on the football field as well as the lacrosse field. It's amazing to see him go under there and able to bury that one.
And looking back at this play, you see the finish by Reed, but it all was started by great goaltending and great knowledge by Kroll, able to feed the ball off, and that's something that we haven't talked about much here tonight, but that vision and then the Rams in transition game, just beautiful bing, bang, boom pass.
Yeah, Matt Reed, he didn't have much of an angle there, goes under, then just quickly, uses his left hand, which is his, his primarily dominant hand, but is able to, net that one for the Rams and put him up 7-5 here with just about 4 minutes left in the quarter.
Ground ball picked up by O'Neal, who's then flattened. Possession back to the Gales. Rams up 7-5, 4 minutes remaining in this fourth. Bruno fighting with the ball in his hands. He's being checked by Hayes. He's being a pest. Far side is Pasacreta.
It's not necessarily crunch time yet for Iona. They don't have to force anything and get. Lacrosse is such a fast-playing sport that it's not when there's 3 minutes left like in other sports where you've really got to get going. But, they definitely want to, use this possession to their advantage and try to net one here.
Ball being touched by DRC. DRC shakes his defender. Kroll with the big save. Gaining applause from the crowd. Now looking around. He's double-teamed. Looking for the pass over to Roby. Roby looking for the pass up. Feeding the pass to Mazza. Mazza's checked. Ball goes out of bounds.
Got a replay here of Jackson Kroll's save. Great roll dodge there. And, Kroll just able to stuff him there right in front. They were only the Gales were only about 5 yards away from Kroll there with the shot, but, Kroll just, such good hand-eye coordination, sees the ball and is just able to get this stick up there to make that save.
Wyden chasing the shot and score. Pasacreta nets one in the back of the net. Bottom left corner, you saw Wyden trying to get back on defense. Pasacreta beats him and scores. Makes it 7-6. Rams on top of the Gales. Tucker, as you mentioned, tons of time left.
Yeah, there's, as I was saying, it's not time to rush for the Gales, and they really didn't rush there. The Rams get the ball back, and Gales push it in transition and are able to net that one there.
See here on the replay, you see on the chase, Pasacreta gets the ball, then takes the sidearm kind of shot, angle shot.
The Rams really couldn't get a good slide off there. Pasacreta runs through 2-3 Rams defenders and is just able to go low there on Kroll. And that's a hard save to make as a goalie, especially when you just see this guy running around all your players. It's hard as a goalie to be able to pick up that shot.
JT wins the clamp, then goes for the ground ball scoop. He's pushed from behind. New Canaan retains possession. Ball over to Laddick.
A lot of face-off violations so far, PJ. Sorry, not PJ, John. You see PJ's in here with us right now, and been commentating with PJ a lot. So, John, as I was saying, we've seen a lot of face-off violations so far. Gaels trying to say that Campese went over, and they can't get it. Ref does not call it.
Far side is Roeder. Roeder with a defender on his left hip. Then spinning, turning, it was Garrity on his left hip. He dumps it off. New Canaan moving the ball around, continuing. Hayes in the offensive zone. Matty Reed with possession, looking down, passing Roeder at X, then circling back around, looking for really any open space. Reed inside, then curls out. Reed good, switch hands to his left, then roll back down and around, and part of this too is just kind of moving the ball around, not taking a bad shot, because the only way the Gaels can get back into this game right is if they force a turnover. A minute 35 seconds remaining, and that's the way the Gaels are going to get back. A defensive turnover, a save, some sort of stop where they then can move the ball into the offensive zone. But other than that, New Canaan will be able to just kind of move the ball around, look for a shot, look for that second goal, which will be a big goal, as Buzzio calls a timeout with 1:35 remaining.
I think we actually got an Iona timeout there, John, but, we just see Reed, just running back and forth behind the net, It's not necessarily yet, but, soon you'll see out of Iona a 10-man ride, most likely the goalie coming out and playing defense when the Rams are behind and just trying to get that ball out of Reed or whoever's behind stick as best they can and, just get the ball over. And, once you get under a minute, it's definitely starting to get to the time where you need to just start peppering shots on Kroll and hope for the best.
Minute 35 remaining. Rams up 7-6. See both teams in the huddle right now.
Fortunately, hearing up here in the booth from PJ Neville, the JV team lost to Iona. It was a close game, 11-12. The Rams fell, and it's great to get the updates on the JV game. The young guys and PJ, the junior. It's great to always hear from them, and that's the future of the program. Next year we'll be calling PJ's name up here, and it'll be awesome to see.
Minute 35 remaining. Here is crunch time. New Canaan with possession, up 7-6. See who starts with the ball.
Rams are sending Gray Wildman to start with it low, and you see this 10-man ride coming out. You see goalies guarding Bryce Lyden. What the Rams are doing here with Bryce Lyden. Bryce Lyden's down on offense right now. If Iona quickly gets the ball back, you want your long stick on the field right now, especially when it's crunch time. You don't want to be dealing with substitutions as Iona gets the ball back.
The Gaels gain possession and opportunity moving into the offensive zone. Now New Canaan, Drew Davis avoiding a few checks.
There's going to be offsides there on the Rams.
Offsides on Campese.
Campese's
The
stick
shot,
goes over.
The big save by Kroll.
Campese's just going to come over and play defense now. You already drive you already draw an offense or defensive penalty, and when it's an offsides, you just run over and keep playing defense.
Beautiful pass inside. Beautiful pass inside to number 21, Seamus D'Arcy.
Yeah, haven't called his name too much today, but that's just a great job. Ties it up here at 7, and that's just a great move by D'Arcy. And now it's kind of what do you do if you're the Rams here? Just got that penalty, but it will obviously be waved off as the offsides penalty isn't as crucial as a 2-minute non-releasable penalty. But the Rams, that's a huge momentum shift there, and I think a lot of the momentum is going to Iona right now, so they're really gonna have to bounce back.
D'Arcy, great feed inside. You see on the replay, great feed inside to D'Arcy, who finishes extremely close to Kroll. JT wins the clamp, looking for the ground ball scoop. He gets that. A good ground by scoop by Mazza. Buzzio calls the quick timeout. Now under a minute remaining, 58.8 seconds remaining. We'll see if we have a replay here, but both teams go to the huddle. Tucker, New Canaan now looking for an answer. You know, they've been up for the past couple of minutes. Now the pressure's on them to put one in the back of the net.
Yeah, you know, they still got a minute left. And, you know, I don't force anything right now that's gonna, you know, give the other team a fast break or a quick transition. But, you know, the Rams really got to draw something up strong here right now. You know, get your best guys the ball, get the ball to Wildman, Reed. Mazabras has been playing great. We've been talking a lot about Campese and Roeder, but Mazabras is also just a very talented player who's found luck on the crease today. I think just keep taking shots, hope for a good rebound if it comes down to it with Mazabras, but have Reed and Wildman just keep peppering those shots.
And on the other side, defensively, if you're the Gaels, how do you come up with one final defensive stand here? And hopefully, if you're a Gaels fan, gain possession of the ball and move into the offensive zone.
Yeah, you know, it'll be interesting to see their approach here. You know, I think definitely putting pressure on guys like Wildman and Reed, who have found a lot of success tonight in their dodging game. I think that's going to be their main approach today, and, you know, we'll see where they go from there.
New Canaan with possession out of the timeout by Coach Buzzio. Let's see who starts with the ball. You see Laddick down low. Of course, Matty Reed, Gray Wildman out there on the offense.
Yeah, Rams running a 123 formation right now. You got one guy behind, two in the middle kind of, and then you got three up top. Some confusion here from the refs. Mazabras gets to keep the ball. The ref was thinking the Rams were up there because he stepped out of the box, and you can't do that when you're up with under 2 minutes left, but just some confusion. The Rams get the ball back.
Mazabras over to Laddick. Laddick guarded. Mazabras sets the pick, trying to get a short stick on Laddick. They do exactly that.
Short stick, but it's still Crew Davis, and, you know, that might be one of your better looks, but, you know, not really sure who you want to target, which defenseman you want to target here right now if you're the Rams.
Roeder one-on-one at the 30-yard line. Roeder over to Wildman. Wildman moving around the side. He takes the shot wide of the cage, an opportunity. Wildman taking the shot, missing his mark. 17.4 seconds remaining, all tied up at 7.
Yeah, I think Rams don't necessarily hold for last shot, but just go to the goal right now. You know, you got 10 seconds. Be awesome to net one here and not risk the time in overtime.
Feed over to Roeder. Roeder working on his defender. He switches. He takes the shot wide left.
Got a second left.
1.6 remaining.
Just going to try to throw the ball up really quick and try to bat something down.
Feed it inside to Campese. Campese checked from behind. This one, 4 quarters, not enough to settle it. We'll go to overtime here live on NCTV. And we're in for a good finish. Tucker, it's going to be back and forth. New Canaan with a few opportunities, a few shots towards the end of the 4th quarter. An end of regulation here at Dunning Field between the Rams and the Iona Prep Gaels.
Yeah, you know, we're going to see some sudden death overtime here right now, which is always really fun to watch, but puts a lot of pressure on the players and especially the goalies, and it's going to be very interesting to kind of see the team's approaches. You know, if the Rams are going to keep peppering those shots on goal, it might be a great idea. You know, it's putting a lot of pressure right now on Monhart, and, you know, he's just going to have to find a way to, you know, set that pressure out. And, you know, it's all going to start here. We see O'Neal walking out of the faceoff X. That's what the Rams have to do first, or the Gaels. You know, whoever is going to win this game, you got to start and just go play by play and just really just, you know, set it up and see what you can do. And I think both teams really just need to stick with kind of their game plan so far, John.
JT and Pasacreta in the middle right now with the ref, flipping the coin, deciding which side it will be on. It looks like New Canaan won the toss, I believe, picking the side. A little fist bump, good sportsmanship in the middle. And it all comes down to this Tucker for the game. A game which would be a big win for both of these teams, whether you're New Canaan moving to 9-1, the Gaels moving to 11-3. Big game on the schedule, lots of pressure on the goalies, as you mentioned, but probably even more pressure on these face-off guys to win this face-off, a key, crucial face-off. Of course, you see the bomb squad moving over towards where if New Canaan were to score, they'd score, moving over to the far side.
I don't know if I'd call it much of a bomb squad, John, but it'll be awesome to see, if the Rams are able to net one down there, the guys getting pumped up and able to hype up whoever nets that one.
JT in the middle in the face-off dot. He's won a lot of his face-offs here tonight. This one just as important. JT with the clamp. Neal fighting for it. Leiden comes away with it, spinning. He's checked from behind. Big smart timeout by Buzzio Tucker. We've talked about it, that ability to quickly call timeouts once you get possession. The timeout called. New Canaan will get possession. An opportunity to draw up a play just 10 seconds into overtime.
Yeah, I think the Rams are definitely going to try to stick with, going from behind with, Reed or Wildman, whoever might be, and just keep kind of taking those shots. And, eventually we've seen it all game. The Rams have taken a ridiculous amount of shots. I don't have the exact number, but, they just got to keep shooting them and, eventually, hope for a rebound with Mazabras on the crease or just hope one of them falls.
Yeah, and you talk about a lot of shots being taken. Who do you want to take this shot? If you're Coach Buzzio, you're drawing up a play. Of course, you want to have Mazabras in the middle, an opportunity for a rebound. But who do you want to take this shot if you're Coach Buzzio?
I think you kind of want to give the ball to Matt Reed right now. Wildman's done a lot right now, and it definitely wouldn't be a bad idea to give him the ball. But Iona's going to be expecting that and be ready to slide quickly, which is a way for the Rams to pick up on it early. But I think you give the ball to sophomore Matt Reed right now. Let him run with his left hand, and he's so quick and his hands are so good, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do here. But that's personally what I would do. Put Matt Reed with the ball on his stick and let him cook.
3:50 in overtime, sudden death. Next goal wins Rams and the Gaels. Up top is Roeder with his matchup. He's got short stick on him, moving towards his left.
A little isolation here. Trying to give Roeder a little one-on-one.
Got Reed and Wildman below the goal line right now.
Wildman's got a short stick on him right now, but it is Crew Davis. But it would be a good idea to, maybe test it out here. We haven't really seen too much on Crew Davis on defense, and it could be a good idea to have Wildman try to go against that short stick.
Wildman far side, Davis on him. He looks like a shot to get a slide. He takes the shot. Big save by Monhart. Gaels now moving. Trying to, of course, get the ball out on the clear. Smart timeout by head coach Rick Trezano. The Gaels got a save from their goalie. Now an opportunity to go win it on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah, that's a great shot by Wildman. Maybe I would have gotten a little closer if I was him. That's a far shot to make on a great keeper. But, I just think, the Rams right now need to ride. Wildman and Reed ride ridiculously hard, and it's going to be, very interesting to see, how much they can do to get this ball back for the Rams and continue on.
Again, next goal wins here in overtime. A clash between two out-of-state teams who play each other almost every year. The New Canaan Rams, Iona Prep Gaels. And if you're tuning in right now on NCTV, you're tuning in at the right time. Next goal wins. Myself, John Frieders, joined alongside Tucker Stevens. Coming out of the timeout by head coach Rick Trezano after the big save.
You got to see a good ride here from the Rams if you're rooting for them. It's Wildman is so fast, and they're just Gaels are gonna give it over to Pascaretta here, who's very quick, and it'll be interesting to see if the Rams are gonna be able to ride on this quick short stick.
Big matchup. Ball being moved around by the Gaels, now in the stick of Fahey. Fahey along the left side gets past the stick of Reed. Fahey up top. Wearing out a bit of isolation ball right. Just move the ball around now. Back to Pasacreta. Over to Fahey. Ball fed to the stick of Stelter. Gotta think Pasacreta or Stelter are the Gaels drew up a play for. Both have a goal here tonight. Ball in the stick of Pasacreta. Back down low.
Picked off there by Will Sullivan.
see an injury out on the far side.
They're just going to blow it dead. That was a great interception there by Will Sullivan, able to pick that ball off and swing possession.
And that's not what you want to see here. I
Just
believe it's a cramp.
Will Hayes being a great sport, helping him stretch that out.
Saw immediately, too, once he started cramping up, immediately fell to the ground.
Yeah, just a cramp, I believe, just giving him a nice stretch. And, you know, Hayes was, that's just great sportsmanship, John. You know, the other team goes down and you're still helping out, and I think that's just such a great thing to do.
Here, of course, don't go away here on NCTV 78. We'll see you back here in a few moments after this quick injury timeout. See here, coming out of the injury timeout, a Gale down injured. We're not going to speculate something up with that leg as he's being helped off the field. New Canaan with possession now after the shot saved by Mohard on the other end of the last time they were on offense.
Yeah, the Rams have found a lot of success in their clear game this season. You know, these defensemen, they're big, but they're athletic. They're fast players. And, you know, you got Schwartz and Campese on the field right now who are very good short sticks. So it's very hard for Iona to get the ball back on this ride. You know, they're really going to need to work hard to get this ball back right now.
Oh, an opportunity. He's shown off his passing skills in this game with the assist.
Don't forget his shooting skills too, John.
He's feeding it off to Hayes and gets the ball back as he continues to walk up, jog up, look for a pass, then turns around. Pass over to Bryce Leiden. Leiden near side coming up. Looking, you can tell, tempted to try and find a way to shoot the ball. Instead dumps it off to Campese. Campese at the 40.
That's a great touch there by Leiden. You know, don't want to risk taking a shot right now for a long stick. You really just want to slow things down, get the ball to the right matchup that Coach Chip Buzzio wants to run, and, you know, just go from there, get some shots on goal.
Far side is Laddick. Laddick with the long pole on him. Comes around looking for a pass. Feeds it to Roeder. Roeder up top. One-on-one. Looking for a shot. Turns around. Instead dumps it down low to X.
Here's the matchup I wanted to see. You know, the Reed matchup.
Reed with an opportunity near side. Coming around. Looking for a shot. Instead feeds it off to Campese. Campese working one-on-one. It's a pick from Laddick coming around. He takes the shot. Good defensive check. Gaels closest to the ball. Possession back to the Gaels. How about an overtime here, though, Tucker? Both goalies coming up big, making a few stops. Some very good defense.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. You know, that's Campese gets hit with a great trail check there, and I think that was a good look for him. You know, he had a great shooting lane, and that's just a great check by the Gaels there.
Gaels now with possession, 52.2 seconds remaining in this first overtime. Sudden death, all knotted at 7. Gaels with possession.
Rams got to ride hard here.
Wildman on the ride. Up against Torello.
Oh, Reed comes over there, but the ref didn't notice it. Oh, now they do. Now they throw the flag.
Across, and there's a penalty. So now Wildman comes across. Reed, check from behind. Schwartz guarding Pasacreta. But I think they might just hold it for the second overtime, so they start with man-up advantage.
Yeah, it's a crucial penalty, and it really could be. You know, Iona starts the ball with the second overtime with possession and with the man up. It could be very hard for the Rams to, you know, bounce back from that.
Clock winding down 5 seconds. We'll see if they take a shot. Looks like they're just going to hold it. And they will. One overtime, not enough to decide. These two teams both locked in a dead fight right now, all knotted up at 7. Tucker, how about that for an first overtime? A lot of defense between the two teams. Good defense. Really, both squads able to make a few big checks, a big trail check on defense for the Gaels, and Hayes with a couple of big checks too as well.
Yeah, we didn't see too many shots on goal from either team there, and it's they got to change. Both teams have to change something offensively. And Iona has had some success with their man up play. They had that great skip pass earlier in the first or second quarter, and it'll be really interesting to see how they run their man up right now. They're gonna have a 30-second penalty that's on Matt Reed, and not too much time to get something going, so they're gonna have to be really quick with it if they want to get a good man up playing right now.
Right, 30 seconds, not a lot of time. They do start with possession though, and you're gonna see them I would wonder, are you gonna take the shot early, or if you don't see a shot, are you just gonna hold it?
I think you swing the ball around once here, just get some looks and then run the play. You don't have time to run multiple plays, so you gotta, whichever one's worked, and I think it might be that skip pass play or something similar to it. I think that's what you go with right now. Kind of swing the ball once, John, and then just go right into it.
Big opportunity for both of these teams. Of course, it's middle of the season matchup between these two teams. The Gaels only have a few games left, including after this game, 4 more games left in their season. Seton Hall Prep, Chaminade, St. Joseph's Trumbull, and Bergen Catholic. But those next 2 games, Seton Hall Prep and Chaminade, both really big games for this team. An opportunity here, pick up a big win against New Canaan, carry that momentum against 2 of the top teams in the Northeast.
Chaminade, very talented team. Took down Darien a week or 2 ago, and
St. Anthony's too.
St. Anthony's, yeah. They have an amazing goalie. I saw on Instagram, Lacrosse Network. He had like a buzzer beater save last second. He's committed to Notre Dame, so that's going to be a tough one for Iona.
There it is. Gaels moving the ball around, back up top to DRC. DRC over to
skip
Poole.
Pass. That's
the shot in, scores, and they're calling no goal.
They're saying he's in the
celebration. They're saying he was.
And the whole Iona field on the field draws a flag. Iona will get a flag. New Canaan in transition.
He's coming down in transition. Feeds to Laddick. Laddick moving around, looking for an opportunity. And you see that flag call because essentially the entire Gael team was on the field celebrating, thinking that it was a game winner.
John, I don't remember if you know if you remember this, but 2022 Turkey Bowl, New Canaan Bomb Squad runs on early. Kind of took me back to that moment, and at least New Canaan came out with the win there. It's not over yet for Iona, but it'll be interesting to see here. They got a flag down now, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that turns into something.
Roeder far side has the one-on-one matchup, back down low, feeds to Wildman. Wildman comes across, has a shooting space. He shoots and scores! Wildman wins it for the Rams. How about that for a goal? Ray Wildman wins it for the Rams in overtime.
The freshman nets his 4th goal of the game, and Ray Wildman just makes a great move there. And it's just great to see a freshman putting the Rams on his back and being able to net one there and win it here for the Rams in double overtime.
Double overtime winner. Look at this replay. Shoots and scores. The celebration afterwards. What a goal for the freshman. His 4th goal on the game. Everyone's loving it here at New Canaan High School. Of course, it is a heartbreaking ending for the Gaels. A tough way to lose a game like this. The Rams come out on top.
Yeah, Wildman, just great hitch move there. Comes up top and, quickly able to, just bounce back and make that goal. Iona thought they had it there, but it's really, really great to see for the freshman Wildman, the young guy, really putting out some work.
New Canaan will end up winning this one, come away with the victory, move to 9-1 on the season. The Gaels fall to 10-4 on the year. We'd like to thank the entire crew that helped out with this production. Our producer, Caden Leslie, our camera operators, on graphics, Lucas has a party replay, Braceland Fudd on camera, Annika Rizzi. Camera, Drew Mastronardi, of course. The guy next to me, Tucker Stevens. A special thanks to our NCTV advisor, Roman Sobolski, athletic director, Jay Egan, PA announcer, Bill Brown and Terry Dinan, and on technical support, Tony Spisnick. And that should do it all here on NCTV. New Canaan comes out victorious, and we'll say goodnight here from the New Canaan High School press box. Myself, John Frieders, Tucker Stevens, signing off.
This game is sponsored by our NC Rams All Sports Booster Club Platinum and Gold sponsors. We would like to thank our Platinum sponsor, Quest Builders Group, a general contracting, construction management, and consulting company who proudly supports all of our high school athletes. We would like to thank our Platinum sponsor, Dr. William Fessler of Fessler Family Dentistry, the dental office for your entire family's dental needs. At William Fessler Family Dentistry, smile. You're in good hands. We thank Platinum sponsor Frangione Engineering. Planning on putting in a pool or an addition onto your house? Are you having drainage issues on your property? Frangione Engineering can help you find a solution. Platinum sponsors and NCHS alumni Leo and Steve Carl of Carl Chevrolet, who have been proud supporters of local athletic programs for generations. Their dealership has been serving Fairfield County since 1927. Their team is ready to assist with all of your automotive needs. We thank Platinum sponsor Manfredi Jewels. Manfredi Jewels, your local official Rolex jeweler, is excited to continue carrying the finest jewelry and watch brands, and welcome the New Canaan community into their newly renovated store this fall. Go Rams. Platinum sponsor Renaissance Partners, a family-owned and New Canaan-based residential building and remodeling company serving all of Fairfield County. We thank Platinum sponsor Walter Stewart's. Walter Stewart's Market has supported NC Rams athletics and the entire New Canaan community for years. Walter Stewart's is your fresh local market. We also thank our Platinum sponsor Hoyt Livery for 30 plus years of service. We would like to thank our Gold sponsor Anderson Kenny Architecture, a full-service practice that encompasses a range of commissioned residential and commercial projects. Each project is a thoughtful collaboration tailored for clients and their needs. The outcome is highly personal, constructed with intention and integrity. We thank another Gold sponsor, Club Sandwich, a family-owned deli right here in town serving the New Canaan community since 1986. They are a proud sponsor of the New Canaan community and all of our sports teams. And we thank NC Graphics LLC, a Gold sponsor who is a constant supporter of the NCHS Booster Club. They are a custom graphics company located right here in New Canaan for all of your logo designing needs. Again, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. The NC Rams All Sports Booster Club supports all New Canaan High School athletics. Go Rams!